Chapter 5: Thinking, Planning, and Language. Constructing representations. The brain builds fairly simple representations of people, places, objects, and events as references. The key to constructing representations involves semantic memory, a form of declarative knowledge that includes general facts and data, such as addition, subtraction, and even knowing names of capitals. Some cells that are very important in semantic memory are concept cells. Concept cells allows us to group certain stimuli together, such as certain animals, certain people, or certain objects. Thanks to concept cells, we can recognize that dogs of different breeds are still dogs. Concept cells are located in the temporal lobe, an area that specializes in object recognition along with many other functions. The case study in this chapter is of DBO, a 72-year-old man who suffered multiple strokes. DBO could identify only 1 out of 20 different objects by sight. However, he could identify objects easily with eyes closed and using just touch. Researchers concluded that DBO's stroke had damaged his brain part that had prevented visual input transfer to the anterior temporal regions. Anterior temporal regions are areas of the brain where semantic processing occurs. Application of this research was that researchers figured that temporal lobe damage may lead to agnosia. Agnosia is a problem with recognizing and identifying visual stimuli. There are different kinds of agnosia, and they differ depending on the area affected. Prosopagnosia is a common type of agnosia, which is also known as face blindness. The damage to the fusiform face area, located on the underside of the temporal lobes, is critical for recognizing faces, can cause prosopagnosia. People with prosopagnosia can see faces but have a hard time recognizing their identities, and this picture shows how exactly faces look like to patients with prosopagnosia. This chapter also talks about various important regions of the brain for thinking, planning, and language. Starting with the semantic system. The semantic system is one of the most important regions. It includes the posterior parietal cortex, parts of the temporal lobe, and regions of the prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO. The semantic system contains a constellation that responds more strongly to words than other sounds. It is bigger in humans than primates, which explains why humans have a better understanding of language and are able to manipulate language better than other animals. Now, the particular functions of the semantic system is to encode representation of concrete or abstract concept, action, verb, or social information. Words like month and week stimulate the familiar areas or close areas in the brain, versus words like month and tall stimulate different areas in the brain. Another important region talked about in this chapter is the visual word form area. The visual word form area is again located in the temporal lobe region, and it's important for recognizing words, written letters, and words. The last thing discussed in this chapter is different kinds of language disorders, which are known as aphasias. The 3 main kinds of aphasias discussed are Broca's aphasia, Wernicke's aphasia, and pure word deafness. Broca's aphasia is non-fluent aphasia. In non-fluent aphasia, the speech production is impaired, meaning that the speech production is often slow or choppy. However, the comprehension is intact. Damage to the left frontal lobe can cause Broca's aphasia. In this picture, this young lady wants an apple, and she knows she wants an apple. However, when she asks for the apple, her speech is choppy and slow. Wernicke's aphasia is known as fluent aphasia. Unlike Broca's aphasia, in Wernicke's aphasia, speech production is intact. However, speech comprehension is impaired. Damage to the left temporal lobe can cause Wernicke's aphasia. In this picture, the young man wants an apple. However, even though his speech production is smooth, the comprehension of his speech is not very illegible. The last type is pure word deafness. Pure word deafness is damage to both the superior temporal lobes. Pure word deafness is basically the inability to comprehend speech on any level. However, patients with PWD are not deaf. They can detect tone, emotion, and even gender of the speaker. They just cannot understand what is being said.